Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Hue. Let's continue. I just left the game on the map there. We unlocked this purple color after unlocking the blue color and the black and white color that is just spooky. So let's go and see what's on the other side here. Well, that was weird. Yep. More and more I keep playing these small games that really shouldn't have any kind of micro stuttering issue, and then or stuttering issues or lag at all, and there, I mean, that wasn't a micro stutter. That was just straight up laggy stuttering, and I just don't see a reason why that should have happened. Let's do an experiment here and see if we pause and unpause and then start running over here. Nope, that worked perfectly fine that time. So yeah, I have no idea what that was all about. It could be my computer settings. I have had configuration problems on my computer in the past, but it is so weird that it's happening on like simplistic games. So we got the purple, but you need to go back to blue to go to the next section. And here we have another conversation. Let's see if we've got the audio balanced better now.
Did you know, Hugh, that purple is at the very end of the visible spectrum? It's the hardest colour for our eyes to distinguish. Now, imagine a shade one step further than purple. A colour beyond what we can actually perceive. We call these impossible colours. And I fear that this is where I currently reside. If reality is rooted in our perception, and you cannot perceive me, do I even exist to you? I'm sure that I do. I mean, you're reading this letter, or at least I hope you are. I'm sorry, but existing in this strange state of impermanence does funny things to you, Hugh. It makes you question what is real.
So you can hear her typing as the letter is monologued out. It's not really a conversation. And the typewriting sound effect is just being repeated over and over again, so it just doesn't feel like the amount of typing you're hearing is the amount of letters that would be written, assuming it's being typed in English. She's talking, the one shade above purple or violet would be ultraviolet, which doesn't stop something from existing. Like, humans get ultraviolet radiation all the time. They can definitely be blinded by ultraviolet bulbs. That's why you're not supposed to like look into bug zappers, which give off ultraviolet light. And if you're talking UVA versus UVB rays, which are slightly different frequencies, they can give you really bad sunburns really fast. But yeah, ultraviolet light, just because it can't be perceived by humans doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If a creature was only reflecting ultraviolet light and not reflecting any other light that is on the visible spectrum, you would still bump into that creature. If you walked into it, like, it would still exist, it would still interact. It's not like it's phased out of your reality or phased out of time, or its particles are synchronized in some way that would not interact or bounce with other objects' particles. It's nothing like that at all. And the visible spectrum, it's important to point out, is just a small slice of the much wider electromagnetic spectrum, which includes gamma waves and radio waves and microwaves and basically anything that is a wave, including light, which I'm not sure we ever have fully proven is a wave and not a particle, which seemed, because light seems to be both a particle and a wave, or act like both a particle and a wave. And then there are other forces that are not on the electromagnetic spectrum, like magnetism and gravity, but a lot of things are on the electromagnetic spectrum. We've never figured out any technology to effectively shift frequencies. It could be done, but yeah, we can't really phase shift the color red into being the color blue without basically having a camera capture the color red and shifting the colors using computers and transistors, where magnifiers can magnify images and light, and filters can remove certain types of light, and light bulbs can produce lights. Light emitting diodes can produce lights. Now the problem I just realized with this game is that you're going to want to do something like this always. There's going to just be a significant amount of places where you're going to want to be in different colored areas looking for some collectible. So I'm hoping that that isn't the case. We can jump up the ladder to speed the process up a little bit. I'm hoping that we can just play the game and assume that there's some level of safety in not having to search everywhere, and that we're not going to find at some point that certain walls just disappear on the edge here that are black if you're in a different color. Now, one of the things that can probably play into that is the fact that it looks like there aren't really that much collectibles, and it does look like this game isn't that long, and going through this big section and just climbing ladders does definitely give me the feeling like this world is not that intricate, and we are going to see it waste some time. Now, notice here, in a precision platformer, frustration style platformer, there would be a move here to try and jump. That's not going to work, obviously. So instead, we're going to shift and shift and shift, and I question if maybe one right trigger, right bump might be helpful in these cases instead of using the right analog stick to swap. If that is the level of how this is all going to go, though, that's not too bad. This is pretty decent design around the idea of understanding the right moves and playing towards making the right moves instead of just having action skills and platforming skills. Now, in this case, there is going to be some platforming issues, and we'll immediately see how this is all going to play out. and that time has to slow down, or I would never be able to make those jumps. So you pretty much have to know what angle you're going to go with this. It does feel like there should be a button somewhere here, particularly since the A button is the only button on the controller so far that's doing anything, that would just quick swap. And noticeably, they've moved these two colors, so you do have to pick. I guess there's some safety in jumping to the right here and swapping versus jumping to the left and swapping. And then you can just make the long jump this way. So it introduced us with kind of easy puzzles, but now it is probably setting ourselves up to have to be more skilled at the platforming. So it's not going to be a pure puzzle game. So at that level, I am kind of hoping that the game is kind of short. And now we have orange. Very quickly we're getting all these fragments, but that doesn't mean that the game has to actually be short in any way. We could simply be in a position where we get all the puzzle pieces early and then move on. See if we see any kind of lagginess when we run down this. So each one of those is, I guess, supposed to be like a little temple or the top of a pyramid.
The university gardens were bathed in an earthy orange light when I first met Dr. Gray. Summer had come and gone, and a cold autumnal crispness had caught me off guard. I sat on the grass, surrounded by my books and papers, when a cool breeze threatened to blow my notes across the lawn. A page escaped my reach and took flight. A man not much older than myself chased after it, catching it on his third or fourth attempt. I remember his gentle smile when he returned it. He started talking, and I was surprised that he had read my work in the university journal. He said he was a professor and that he hoped we could work together someday. It's funny, Hugh, how something so small can change so much.
So these these sections are designed for you to do the platforming while you're listening to it. I've just proven. They made it just slightly longer than the entirety of the dialogue there, instead of just standing listening to the dialogue. It still plays some sound effects, though. It kind of muted while you're doing the platforming. And yeah, from that story we now know that Hugh is, I guess, supposed to be this adult professor that just happens to be short. And the writer is supposed to be a university student who thus probably would have been slightly younger or really younger than Hugh. And then the bad guy being named Dr. Gray definitely comes off like an Eggman type name, just kind of silly. The two on the nose for this game that's all about color. And yeah, I think there probably is a case here to be made where what we're gonna find out is I don't know if it's really worth running through all of this and like trying to collect the 2 flasks we have right now. Yeah, it seems like they've probably made a decision here to not have any real abilities extra being unlocked. So unlike your standard Metroidvania, you're not going to get a super missile or some other item that unlocks a new area, and you're not going to get any kind of see if the conversation here is different. Yeah. Like the only thing that could really change is if we found that there were some things that were black. I would guess that's about the only way I see this playing out, and that through the blackness you're able to produce something that is being hidden in every other hue of colors. So that is going to create this weird situation where you're now remember when we came here first, we could not shift to any other color. But I don't think there's a way to really go back from this point. So unless there was a way to unless there's some way to reset the levels or something. So yeah, it does seem like it is gonna weirdly turn into this odd situation where you're either gonna run through each world a second time, or you're going to get some kind of fast travel back to the main world. And it also feels very weird, like you're going to unlock an ability. We have all 4 of the flasks. If this game is as small as I think it is, it may be a good kind of candidate for speedrunning, but it also may be the kind of game that gets just like perfected in speedrunning and very quickly, and there may just not be any real cheats. We can, I guess, look at the world in orange and see if anything's different, and we can come up and down this section and see if anything happens here. Didn't see any stutter there. It might have stuttered just because I started recording. There could be some trick here where we're supposed to color an entire world one color. And change the backgrounds. But I can't help but have this dreadful feeling that we have seen the entirety of all the gimmicks in this game, and so then we are left with a game that is going to tell us some pseudo intellectual monologues, which, yeah, I guess now if we turn everything to orange, that makes that way easier. But in this case, that probably highlights where orange doesn't help. So yeah, once you have 3 colors, though, the fact that I can change to a 3rd color here is about as far as you could take that. The only way you could make this more difficult is if, I guess, there was a wall and the wall was a 4th color, so you would have to be in that other color. But even if that was the case, then your 3rd color wouldn't play a role. And in this case, it's definitely proving to be not as helpful to have a 3rd color. It's very much just figuring out the right way to flip the buttons. Whatever color you play at also then turns some of these rooms out of order, so you can't exit. Which I assume it's probably doing that to teach you to just remember to swap around. Not that you would really forget it. And so we've spent a significant portion of this episode just running through that whole area a second time, which we may very quickly, with 3 colors, never need to do that again, unless they can think of some new gimmick, which I definitely would applaud if they did figure out a new gimmick by adding yet another color. if we now look at the entirety of the city in orange, let's see what we can reach. This is some kind of crimson. Maybe we'll have combined colors here. You have purple, blue, and orange right now. So those aren't inherently red, green, blue computer primary colors or additive colors for artistic pigment colors. Oh hey again, Hugh. Thank you so much for saving me early. This cave sure gave me the creeps. And we can color the inside of buildings. There we have a collectible. So if we make everything blue, it does nothing. If we make everything that color, it does nothing. Now if only I could figure out what is wrong with the lighthouse, then the fisherman would know where to come. So now he said something different when we turned the whole sky orange. We don't have a green, so we need... Interesting, it seems like it wants to go back to blue. Yeah, it does lock in this area to being blue. So there is apparently a true color to it, and this lighthouse section definitely feels like it is your central hub area, and we will get certain colors and use those certain colors to exit into other areas. Although if we look at the map, kind of doesn't feel like that's the case. If anything, it feels like we're supposed to somehow fix the lighthouse, and then from the lighthouse we're going to take a boat trip to some kind of island, and then from the island we'll get to the university. And then there's only one more flask to find, and yet we know that there are 2 secret areas in the lighthouse area, so there might be an actual object of some sort that we're going to collect. And apparently we can just skip the areas, which maybe means that the right way to play this game is to just play as far as you can play now, and then this is yellow, not orange. We've seen a red, we've seen a crimson, so it is probably going to be 3 primary colors and 3 secondary colors. And so, yeah, I guess we're going into another section. We'll do that next time, though. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and keep on watching. Thanks.